video portion.
Tell me when you're ready.
It's going.
Okay. All right. Hey, bro, what's up? I'm Vin,
And I'm Jeff.
and welcome to our podcast. This week is smoking, everyone's favorite, with our guest Nathan. Say hi, Nathan. Hello.
Hey, what's up?
So Nathan is our coworker. Like our last job, we worked together. We were kind of like that trio. We all just like joked around, did whatever. And Nathan just went unhinged at work all the time. And then we all slowly quit one by one. Nathan found our current job. I followed him. Jeff followed me, and then now we're all working together again. So, Nathan, want to give yourself an introduction?
What's up? I'm Nate, and I don't know. I guess I like playing games, and I like watching Garfield.
I'm gonna cut this out. Can you turn your gain down on your mic a little bit? It's boosted too much.
For sure.
If you want to sound clearer.
Position.
Not gonna lie, Nate, when Vin said, say hi, Nate, I expected you to be like, hi, Nate.
Yeah,
All
act
right.
yourself, dude. If you want to act crazy, do whatever. You don't have to be serious. It's all chill. It's casual. It's like,
Is that better? Testing.
that's too close. That's too close. This guy. Okay.
All right, right here.
Okay. All right. We just.
Nice.
My bad.
I'm leaving
That right
in
there is gonna set the precedent of how this episode is gonna
Yeah,
go.
Oh yeah, very much, very much.
Would you like to start with the quote of the week?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The quote of the week is quitting smoking is hard, but not quitting is harder.
Nice. Why did you pick this quote?
Just because you definitely do have to kind of wake up and make that decision every single day and be like, you know what? I am. But at the same time, it's pretty hard going through withdrawals, so it's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah, and why is not quitting harder?
Just because, like, you kind of have, like, even if you're not, like, chemically or, like, physically dependent, you are, to a minor degree, dependent on just, like, anything you put in your body. So you're kind of in an active addiction, which is just rough to handle with, period.
Okay. Jeff, what do you think?
I mean, to me, this quote more so resonates with the cigarette side of smoking than the weed side, in my opinion. Because, like, quitting smoking cigarettes was a really hard decision for me, but not quitting was slowly destroying my body, so in the long run, not quitting would have been a lot harder because it would have killed me eventually.
I mean, everything kills you eventually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but, you
but-
know, slowly wasting away a lung cancer is not really the way I want to go.
Yeah.
True.
But and I've definitely tried to quit a couple of times. Like, I keep picking it back up just because, like, they always say the first week is the hardest, but genuinely it's probably like a month where it's just like you're just angry. You're like, okay. And again, speaking on like nicotine, just like, you know, that craving is already kind of built into your brain.
Oh, the craving never goes away. I had my last cigarette 4 years ago, and every time I smell it or talk about it, I'm like, man, I could use a cigarette.
So
Yeah.
this episode's really bad for you.
I mean, is what it is. At work, at lunch, I go and hang out in the smoking section
That's true.
with my smoking buddies.
Right.
So, like, I'm around it almost every day.
Yeah, and so I definitely noticed a difference once I like, because I know people say like, okay, safer doesn't mean it's still safe, but to some degree, I'd agree. But with like vapes and cigarettes, I like pivoted from cigarettes to vapes, just because like there is such a genuine difference with like cigarettes that you can just feel like you can feel that tar.
I would agree. When I first quit cigarettes and I picked up vaping, after like 2 weeks, I realized I could walk up a flight of stairs and not have to pause at the end and be like,
God damn.
Dude,
Yeah.
like, in that first month, the amount of gunk your body just kicks out and dispels, like,
Yeah.
you physically notice a difference.
Hmm. That's crazy. Oh, I wouldn't know. My furthest, yeah, I've never smoked a cigarette, and then I've tried a blunt twice, and then that's it.
Yeah, stick with the don't ever smoke a cigarette. If you haven't at this point in your life, don't start.
Right.
Yeah, it's an expensive habit, and it's not even a good one because after a while, you literally don't get anything out of it. You
Mm.
don't even get like the ooh, I feel kind of dizzy. Ooh, I
Because a cart,
feel loose.
right? A carton's what, $100?
Depends on the brand. Most of them right now, I want to say are going for like 80.
Okay. But 80 per what? Per week, or how fast do you go through a carton?
At my peak of smoking, I was just a pack a day. Sometimes like a few extra cigarettes on top of that. But when I was smoking 4 years ago, when I quit, cigarettes had only gotten up to like $6.50, $7 a pack. Now they're closer to like $8.50, $9 a pack.
Mm.
But
So
so
it's-
a carton would last 10 days.
Yeah, you're buying a little. I mean, a meal at Chick-fil-A is like $9.50, so you're buying a meal at Chick-fil-A every single day just to like that, and like you kind of smell awful. Like you have to wash your hands, brush your teeth, change clothes in order to not smell like a cigarette.
Girls don't like the cigarette smell.
Unless they are also a smoker now.
The natural tobacco scent.
Yeah,
Which is so weird though, because like Cass has some like tobacco candles
Okay.
that she'll light in the house, and those smell phenomenal.
Right.
They smell nothing like a cigarette.
Yeah. But
yeah. I
It's
don't.
not it's not a cigarette candle. It's a tobacco candle.
I mean, yes, there's more than just tobacco in a cigarette, but the primary ingredient of cigarette's tobacco.
Yeah, a little formaldehyde too. You know,
Hey, you gotta have
Just
the
a-
formaldehyde.
just a touch of rat poison, just to like, you know, for flavor.
Yummy.
That's why, like, a friend of mine and I, we had this discussion because my friend, he was born in Japan and then came here when he was like super young, and he went back recently to go visit his mom because she still lives in Japan, and he like came back with like 2 cartons of cigarettes because we used to work in a warehouse at the time, and to be honest, if you work in a warehouse, you've got to pass. I mean, everybody else, I'm like, you smoke cigarettes, but if you work in a warehouse, it's like, all right, my bad, my bad. But yeah, we were working in the warehouse at the time, so he bought just like 2 big old cartons of them, and came back with Japanese cigarettes. And it was funny because we were talking about it, and he was like, "I just don't get it because like the Japanese just like chain smoke cigarettes all day, like twice as much consumption of cigarettes that we have, and everybody over there smokes." So he was like, "I don't understand how they aren't like dropping dead like we are." And the difference is because like they tend to use like a 50-50 or a 70-30 blend of tobacco with like other herbs and stuff, and they have like flavored cigarettes, so they're like just kind of smoking less of the actual cancer inducing tobacco.
Right.
And I'll tell you that you definitely taste a difference in those cigarettes.
I mean,
Like
they
Easily.
also don't have the rat poison, the formaldehyde. Like their cigarettes
yeah.
are very natural compared to ours.
Was just kind of jarring. Like it was like walking down like the streets. Like I was just walking down and I would look to my left and there's like a guy in a business suit and he's got like all of his stuff next to him and he's just sitting on the sidewalk and he's like lighting up his own freshly rolled cigarette. And it was like it's just a different culture over there.
Yeah.
So then why can't America utilize, the 70-30 or 50-50 blends?
Oh, I would absolutely. I can't lie to you. I would pick up smoking cigarettes again if they made actual good flavored cigarettes. But yeah, what makes the real money is packing them as tight as we possibly can with the most potent tobacco ever,
Mhm.
and even adding crazy additives onto it to increase the nicotine content, just to make sure like this brand. If you don't smoke this brand, you're gonna get a headache because you didn't get as much nicotine as you did from these ones. It's a crazy world out there.
The process they use to dry the tobacco and stuff here is what adds all those chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cheaper to do it with chemicals versus naturally drying it, processing it without adding all the chemicals and shit.
Right. It's like the processing of American foods.
Yep.
Okay.
That's exactly what you could equate it to.
Got to make it cheap, got to make it as industrial as possible, and got to push out as many as I possibly can in as few hours as possible.
Sounds like America to me.
Yep.
Capitalism at its finest.
All right, man. So you want to go ahead and describe your relationship with smoking?
Yeah. I've been smoking since I was probably about like 15, 16. To be entirely honest with you, to look cool. Like, no doubt about it. I wanted to look cool because there were guys that smoked cigarettes at my high school. I was like, I want to look like those guys.
Yeah.
And I know it's kind of cringy to say that, but like, just true honesty. That was idolization right there. I was like, cool guys smoke cigarettes. And yeah, picked them up and just didn't stop from there.
But those guys were your friends, or you just wanted to be like them?
Little both.
What about weed?
Probably about the same time. Well, no, I didn't start smoking weed until like my freshman year of high school. But
before cigarettes, you already smoked weed.
No, kind of like the same time, but like, yeah, a little bit later, like. Because I used to be a nice little good Christian boy, so I didn't like doing anything, putting anything in my body. I thought all that was like wrong and nasty. And then I got around the idea to cigarettes. And then after you like hit cigarettes, you're like, well, might as well just smoke weed if that's the better option.
That less sins? Is that what they sold it to you? You're sinning less?
No, it's like the one for all, you know. If the punishment for all is hell, then hey, let's just do it all then. You know?
What? I thought you were just trying to get away from hell, not go into it.
I mean, if you're already going, full send.
As I got older, it became a bargain store opportunity right there, where it's like I could have one, or
why not
because,
both?
Yeah, I see the same judge at the end of the day, so.
God damn.
It's interesting you started cigarettes first. Like,
yeah,
I know I'm not much older than you, but like a lot of the people were like that I grew up with, we all started with weed first because it was it was easier to get, shockingly enough, than cigarettes were. So I started smoking weed when I was like 14.
Yeah, I mean, I very quickly snowballed to like, not to say like cigarettes are a gateway drug, but I think because I kind of held off on like doing the baby walk that everybody else just does, where you're like, I'll smoke weed and then I'll do cigarettes and stuff. It was like I held it all back until like the last few years of high school, and that's where I got into some really fun times.
Hit the ground running.
Oh yeah, I was like, man, everybody else has done cool stuff, and then I woke up outside of somebody's house and I was like, what city am I in right now?
Oh my god.
What year is it?
Yeah. Waking up on somebody's front lawn is a very sobering experience. It's something that makes you go, man, I don't like the way this feels.
Fair enough.
I don't like having to borrow somebody's phone, call every person whose number I can remember to see if they have my wallet.
Damn.
Can't say I've... Ooh.
Hey.
Hey, what are you doing? Are you me?
Recording right now, yes sir.
Sorry.
No, you're okay, you're okay. Just want to say hi. Yeah, you say hi to everyone. It's Papa Israel.
How's it going, guys?
Papa Israel, I still have yet to be able to meet you.
He said, Jeff said he still hasn't been able to meet you.
Oh, I know. I'm hoping we can get together soon. Ben talks about you guys all the time.
We'll make it happen.
It's actually pretty good too. It's good stuff.
I don't believe that, but.
He says he doesn't believe it.
All right, I'm sorry to bother you.
No, you're okay. You're okay. Take care. Take care. So why do you smoke now? Is it still trying to be popular, trying to be cool, or is it now just what habit, used to it?
I'd say 50% habit, 50% choice. Where it's like, I've kind of stuck in a doorway where on one hand, like I can quit, but it's just I'm so used to smoking at this point that it's just it would be very hard. To the other point of like, I also am just kind of choosing to do it as well because like I drive myself to the store. I go find weed.
Yeah. And so now, what do you like about smoking?
As for nicotine, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, but like, I not to say that like Joe Rogan is a primary source, but it kind of reminds me of something that I heard Joe Rogan speak about a couple of times about how like nicotine increases focus. Nicotine kind of keeps the brain awake, and so it's not like it's a stimulant. It's just that it kind of like gives you a different feeling and does kind of it might be placebo, but does kind of make me feel at least a little bit more focused, a little bit more grounded, and feel like I'm able to kind of accomplish more of what I'm trying to accomplish. But as for weed, for the most part, it's just the fact that like I kind of have to deal, unfortunately, with a lot of chronic pain from a car accident, and so it's a way cheaper, way easier, and way more effective like pain management system. Just because, no joke, like I went to, of course, like the doctor at one point, and I was like, hey, like I'm really having some trouble with like day to day pain, but I don't want to take anything that will like put me to sleep. And they were like, okay, word up, we prescribed you this, and I went and picked it up, and it was Tylenol. And I was like, oh, word up, word up. But it's like I understand they're trying to like stop the opioid epidemic. I get it, but on the other hand, I'm like, yo, it's hurting. It's hurting.
Yeah. Jeff, you want to say something?
I was gonna build off of his talk about like nicotine being a stimulant and helping you focus. I can't cite the source because it's been so long, but I do remember hearing a while ago that like nicotine is very similar to caffeine. It has very similar effects on your body, such as waking you up, helping you focus, things like that. So it kind of checks out with what he was saying from Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I wish I had an actual source, and but yeah, I just was listening to him in passing, and he had mentioned he was like, I love using tobacco because I feel like it like enhances my focus, it keeps me awake. I feel like it's almost a stimulant, but it's not like cocaine or something like that. It's just, it gets me there, and it's legal.
Depending where you're at.
Very true. Very true.
It's not legal everywhere yet. One day we'll get there.
I was reading New Zealand is like one of the most like I guess progressive, you could say, places when it comes to like cigarettes and tobacco, because they're slowly phasing out the use and bake of cigarettes now. Excuse me. Now the only people that can buy cigarettes, they raised the age to 21 with the United States. But then after they raised the age to 21, they made it to where anybody with the birth year making them 21 is now the cutoff point. You can't buy them anymore if you're not from that birth year and before. So they're kind of like phasing out just the entire use of cigarettes, and I don't have an issue with it.
No, that's not bad. That'll never happen here.
Yeah, I mean, that's, to be honest, like in 2024, I'm an American, I'm a Texan, and the one thing I want to do is sometimes if I've had a long, hard day at work, I'll drive home, go to the gas station, give the guy $8 crummy from my fucking little center console, and then be like, hey man, Newport shorts, Thank you.
Newports. Ugh.
Newport
Drive with
Short.
the windows down.
Ugh.
I'm just having to do like this because I don't want the ash in my car. Like, it's a sport, you know.
Newport Shorts, more like new shorts.
Be ashamed of yourself.
Chad, am I muted?
All right. What do you dislike about smoking then?
Oh, easily the headaches for sure.
Okay.
Also the fact that I kind of feel like a baby because the minute I wake up, I'm like, I need nicotine, and it's like I feel like I'm crawling on my stomach on the living room floor. I'm like, where's the red block? I want the red block. Definitely also, of course, I completely know and understand like I am trashing my lungs, and the fact that I'm trashing my lungs definitely dislike. As for weed, I would say I don't think that there is anything I dislike about it.
That's the right answer.
Are there no
Um,
disadvantages, no side effects, nothing?
It can kind of smell bad to some people and attract attention, but otherwise,
I would say the biggest downfall to weed, besides the smell, is like, yeah, like, you may enjoy the feeling of getting high and things like that. But if something comes up, it's very difficult to get unhigh.
that's very true.
Because there ain't nothing that's going to do that besides waiting for
Yeah.
it to fade. So, like, just a
Or
hypothetical,
locking
like,
in
if I
really hard.
get fucking high, and then 20 minutes later, like, I need to rush Cass to the hospital. Sorry, I can't drive. We need to call an ambulance because I can't get unhigh that fast.
With alcohol, I can at least kind of sober up for a minute and pass that sobriety test. But as for weed, it's hour and a half, 2 hours, I'm tapped.
I ain't moving.
So there are no long-term effects from smoking weed?
I mean, I'm not a
none
doctor,
observed.
so I can't really speak to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's, of course, active studies and things going on, but there's nothing hugely alarming that's been raised about it.
I mean, it depends what medical journal you're reading, too, because I know there's some out there that say it damages your lungs just as much as cigarettes do, but then there's other, medical studies where they're using it to treat cancer. So,
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's small doses, right? Way less than actually smoking it, probably.
Well, kind of, because
Yeah.
medical marijuana is like specially crafted and farmed to be crazy potent. And it's kind
Oh.
of an underground, like, I won't say like term, but like a kind of a phrase is like medical grade, or like just calling it medical. And that's kind of like the standard is like, I want to be so very high that this is, like you would get with medical marijuana, which I luckily have had the pleasure of going to a legal state and smoking medical marijuana, and oh my god,
It's different.
it's different, man. It's different.
Yeah. Like
It's
the high
crafted
was
for
different?
people. Oh yeah,
it's a lot
it's crafted
stronger.
for people. Yeah, it's crafted for people with like, hugely chronic pain, for like post anesthesia, for people going through like chemo and radiotherapy and things like that. It's like, so with me, just kind of going through, yes, major, but altogether just back pain is kind of like, it took that out, but it also took everything out of my brain.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a decent story, and I will keep the individual's name out because I
Sure.
know that person listens to this podcast.
Okay.
So a while back, I had a friend, like, he smokes from time to time, but I was having some friends over for a bonfire, and one of our mutual friends brought actual, like, medicinal grade marijuana. And he was like, oh, yeah, like, oh, let me take a hit. He took one hit and froze in his chair for, like, 15 minutes. And we just looked over at him, we're like, you good? And when he shook his head yes, he toppled over and fell to the ground out of his
Man.
chair.
Oh,
And I know as soon as this episode airs and he listens to this part, he's gonna be like, you motherfucker.
Yeah, that's what I'll never forget. There's kind of a term called like greening out, which is like it's kind of a play off of blacking out, but of course green for weed. But it's kind of like hitting that like blackout point just by smoking weed. And I'll never forget, I was in high school and my friend, which I'll leave his name out as well, but he drove me over there to this party where, excuse me, do apologize. We had a bunch of our friends were having like, it wasn't a party, I guess, but I guess just like a kickback, just kind of like a get together. But basically all the boys, and we were smoking in somebody's garage, and their parents were cool with it, so they were like, so we were just gonna stay in there all night, listen to music, and do that. So we like got there, and of course just like started like, smoking, doing our thing all night, and little by little, I just remember getting like incrementally like so much more high, and at one point I sat down and just kind of had my head like sat like this, and I was just kind of like focused on trying to not like sober up, but I guess like feel normal, because I was like, I'm way too high, so I sat like that. And when I lifted my head up and looked, all like 15 people that were in this garage in a circle were all staring at me and were yelling my name. I was like, oh, like, what's up? What's up? And they were like, dude, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I was like, I just put my head down for a minute. And they were like, dude, like, we were literally like, it's just funny to me because like, the dude, like, my friend was literally sitting there, and when I looked at him and made eye contact, he was like, Nathan! And it was crazy. But then, as the night went on, I made the bad decision of drinking too. So, very shortly after taking a couple of shots, I ended up being put in the bathtub. And I woke up and I was like, what happened? And I don't remember whose house I was at, but I like stumbled around and found somebody's bedroom, and I was like, hey, whose house is this? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm your friend's like brother. He was like, I'll go grab him. And he told me the whole story, and it's crazy.
Oh God, Nathan.
Crossfading is never a good idea.
So like I don't really drink anymore because like I think to the same standard that drinking is harmful, like weed is also just as harmful. And so I don't drink just because I feel like it causes more damage, and also I don't like the way it makes me feel.
Causes more damage compared to weed or compared to cigarettes?
Compared to weed, cigarettes do damage no matter what. You're just screwed for life. Sorry.
How do you know when you're addicted to smoking then?
Oh, easy. You get
Yeah.
like really easy, or I'm sorry, really itchy. You get like kind of these weird headaches. It's hard to explain, but it's not like a just in, ow, my head hurts, let me go take an ibuprofen type headache. It's just this kind of like, I don't know, pulsing headache that can only be satiated by smoking a cigarette.
Is that not like equal to a migraine, or is it worse?
I mean, I don't want to like minimize anybody's pain, but like I'd feel like it's like migraine and withdrawals.
Okay, so migraine's worse.
I was about to say migraines are worse.
Okay, okay. I didn't know how bad these pulsing throbs are.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little overstated, but at the same time, like it does get it does feel pretty bad sometimes.
Yeah.
And then especially like to top it off, you're just kind of really pissed off because like of course you have kind of rewired the like gift and reward system in your brain. So now you're taking away the gift and reward and you're going to be kind of pissed off no matter what.
Mm. Were you ever addicted?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm currently addicted to nicotine.
You're currently okay. Okay, so you're
Yeah.
still okay.
Same.
As for
So-
weed, I feel like if I absolutely like needed to, if my boss came up and was like, "Hey, they're doing drug tests, or else they're gonna fire everybody," you know, it would be a hard decision to make, but I sure wouldn't. I sure would be able to.
Okay, but
I was gonna say I
cigarettes would
wouldn't
be a bit
mind,
harder.
but
For cigarettes, it'd be harder to quit.
oh yeah, for sure.
Damn.
There's just a chemical and physical dependence that builds up so quickly.
Yeah, so I've never seen or heard of, and I'm not saying it's not out there, but I personally have never seen or heard of someone going through withdrawal after giving up weed. But I've seen plenty of people go through nicotine withdrawal.
Yeah, there's like the withdrawal from weed, of course, kind of comes from like the same thing of like you've rewired your brain, you've rewired your gift and reward system, so you know now you've taken out the gift, you're just kind of pissed off a little bit, but it's a little bit easier to curb. It's like, you know, it's kind of the same as like coming home from vacation. You know, when you clock in, it's like, this sucks. This isn't freaking Alaska, but then it's Thursday and you're still at work, so it's
Damn.
yeah.
So, describe the withdrawals. Describe the cravings. Like, what is that like?
I mean, it's genuinely just kind of like it's kind of like an itch in your brain where you're like,
Mhm.
all right, you know, let me go smoke one real quick. Which
Okay.
smoke one in regards to cigarettes, but yeah, it's just kind of like this incessant itch. And like I said, it kind of, if you don't crave that itch, then you get like that kind of pulsing headache that
Okay.
can only be satiated by smoking a cigarette.
Okay.
Which turns to anger
Uh-oh.
and like
Yeah.
on edge uneasiness.
Mm.
Depending on the person, it's like that pulsing headache can like kick on within like 3-4 hours.
Yeah. So between cigarettes and well, I don't remember. We actually already answered these. Okay, so then, so where does vapes come in? Do they actually help with smoking? Is that a good like people switch to like with the e-cigs and stuff like that? Is that helpful?
That's what it's currently like a big, you know, topic of discussion, and
Okay.
that's why like I would say that it's still not good for you. It's not, you're not supposed to be doing it. It's something you're putting into your body that your body doesn't naturally create enough of or anything like that. So
Mhm.
you're just putting, you know, bad chemical into your body. But as opposed to cigarettes, it's definitely a lot better just because there's no creation of tar from the actual like ignition of tobacco. And it's also, of course, like I said, a topic of discussion because like we know in cigarettes there's formaldehyde, there's, you know, I can find a list of chemicals, but there's a crazy list of chemicals in cigarettes. And I would say that there's a good list of chemicals in vapes and things, but it's also not a worry that we have to, you know, oh, there's formaldehyde in this vape because it comes from a, you know, manufactured, you know, a place where we can point to it and say it's that one if something bad happens.
The biggest
Hmm.
concern of vapes right now in the medical community, or at least a couple years ago, was popcorn lung.
Okay.
Yeah,
That sounds horrible. What is that?
it's kind of the buildup of like I don't know, like some like particles from the vapes and things that build up in like the in the
lungs.
branches of your lungs and things, and it shows up as like black. You can see my dog right here.
Black spots, and so it looks like popcorn.
Yeah, but it's also that because it also, it's called that because it causes like a very short and abrupt cough, but it's very indicative and it's very easy to tell. So I would definitely say like I said, vapes are bad, and they've only got a slight edge above cigarettes. Vapes are bad, so it's, don't pick up either, but if you're to pick up one, pick the vape.
And I mean, I'll say like using the vape to quit was helpful because it helped with like the nicotine cravings, but it wasn't as satisfying as a cigarette.
Yeah, it's a different feeling, but it's also like with the current like market of vapes that are going around, it's kind of like a battle of increasing the nicotine content, where like before, I would say about like 10 years ago, when like you had to use those big box mod vapes, the typical percentage was like 3 or 4%, and now you can find up to 6 or 7% liquid in stores, which is just completely insane. I tend to use 4% liquids, but it really is just like they want to get the strongest, like it's the same thing as like the cigarette market, where it's like we need to make the strongest thing possible, so that if you're not using our product, you got to use twice as much as twice as much of theirs.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Really going for the profit here, not for the.
Oh, dude, it's the U.S. of A, man. There's absolutely nothing in here that isn't profiteering.
Damn. What's your worst story with smoking? What's your worst time?
Oh man.
or best time, and maybe just how you frame it, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, well, easily. Which I'll leave out some locations and names, but when I was going to college at the time, hold on just a second. Sorry.
Was that a popcorn cough?
It's popcorn lung kicking in, baby. Got a jiffy lung.
Damn.
No, oh goodness. No, I was going to school at the time, and I went to hang out with a friend of mine, and I went to his dorm, and we lived at like separate dorm places. So I went over to his dorm, and I was like, "Hey, like, let's go hang out." And he was like, "For sure, let's go do some stuff, and then we'll go hang out in the woods and buy some stuff. I mean, other drugs." So we took other drugs, and then we went to go hang out in the woods. But at the time, I was kind of going through like a hippie phase, so we went in the woods, and I was barefoot, and we were just kind of out there with like our phones as like flashlights and stuff, having a real good time. But right as we like started smoking and stuff, immediately like 4 flashlights come out of the woods. And we're like, oh man. So we like throw it and just take off running. And we go and spend the night at another friend of ours who lived at a separate dorm apartment. And we were like, hey, we need to come stay with you. And mind you, we're still fully on the other drugs that we were using. So we were like, hey, let's, we need to stay here. And she was like, you guys need to sober up. She was like, it was probably about 2 a.m. She was like, I'm also not driving you guys anywhere because it's 2 a.m. You just woke me up. And so we spent the night watching, I forget what it was called, but it was some like animated movie about squirrels.
Ice Age.
No. Not one squirrel, a bunch of squirrels. But yeah, it's some animated movie about squirrels. We
The
watched that.
squirrel
A couple of,
movie. It's the B movie equivalent to squirrels.
um, but yeah, we watched that, a couple of other movies, and then sobered up, and then like, well, not completely sobered up. I would say sobered up relatively, and then so I went home. I walked, and I go to my dorm. I take a shower and everything. And I'm like, woof, like crazy night, like never again. And there's like a knock on my door. And I'm like, oh my god. So I go to the door and it's the university police. And they're like, hey, like, no worries, like we're just checking. And luckily I like literally just like took a shower and everything. I'm in new clothes and everything. They're like, no, like you're all good. We're looking for a guy who we think was up to some like suspicious activity last night. And he was running with another fella and showed me a picture of myself from CCTV camera. And it was because the woods were like here, and then it was my apartment and then my friend's apartment. So we had to run through the parking lot of my apartment, and it was one of the cameras in the parking lot that got us, but they couldn't see the face.
Ew.
So that one, I was like, yep, I'll keep an eye out for him.
For myself.
Yeah, this is like, it's so sobering, like the moment that they were like, yeah, this guy, and I'm like looking at me, I'm like, that's crazy. I've never seen that guy in my life.
Yeah, for sure. God damn, dude.
Yeah, I've had a bunch of crazy times with that. Like, one time when I was in high school, I was pretty close to graduating, and a bunch of my friends and I were smoking weed. And at the time, our like typical thing that we would do was drive up to the side of one of our friends' houses, and like right next to the sidewalk, we would lower all the windows in the car, and we would just all stay in the car and smoke. And so we were smoking there, all having a good time. I drove there, and then I was like, all right, time for me to head home. So we all like, dap up, shake hands, get out of there and whatnot. And I go to start my car, and it's not turning on. And I was like, God damn it. So I called all of my friends back, and none of them had jumper cables. So they couldn't jump me, and they couldn't find jumper cables at their house because they also could not talk to their parents because they were very visibly high. So I ended up having to call my dad, and I was like, all right, my dad's going to be cool about this. So my dad came and kind of was cool about it. It was just like, I'm going to drive, you drive behind me. Cause he was like, he saw me and he was like, I know what's going on right now. He was like, I'm going to drive, you drive behind me. Just follow me. And then we get home. And as soon as we come inside, my mom is like sitting at the front door and was like, driving intoxicated, what's up with you now? Like you're off the wall. Like started yelling at me like crazy, and it was just so funny to me because I was just thinking, and I was like, while he was driving, he was calling my mom, and for sure, like, yeah, this is what it is.
Damn, rat it out.
Yeah, ratted out to the bone, dude. But yeah, I couldn't leave my room for like a week, 2 weeks after that. My mom was also evangelical, so she made me write scriptures about getting intoxicated. Beautiful, man.
As strict as my mom was, that was one thing I never had to worry about. As soon as she found out I was smoking weed, she was just like, just do it here. Your friends can crash here. I don't care. As long as I know you guys aren't out doing stupid shit. And I was like, bet, got it. So, whenever we wanted to smoke, I was like, all right, guys, come on over.
Oh man, yeah, that's what like nowadays we're pretty cool about it. Like my mom and I, just because like,
together?
oh no, I wish. Nah, I'm just kidding. No, my mom has breast cancer, so she's kind of come around the idea to using like marijuana, and it was just kind of funny because even one time, my brother and we purchased some edibles from, of course, a guy who deals in edibles from another state, and we ate them, had a great time, and I was like, listen, we would be bad people if we didn't at least offer mom one. So I like went and I was like, we went and sacrificed the bag to mom, and I was like, yeah, like I went and bought these like at the store. They're like real like CBD gummies, like they should really help with your headaches and stuff like that. And just went to bed, and the next morning she like comes and gets me. It's like probably like 10 a.m. My mom's pretty punctual, like she's up at 6 in the morning every morning type woman. It was 10 a.m., which I was like, damn, okay. And immediately she was like, was that weed? I was like, all right, listen. And I was like, I'm sorry. I should have told you. And I was like, that's on me, but I knew you wouldn't have been receptive. I was like, it's just, like, did it help? And she was like, it did. But I got so high.
You probably
man.
should have told her, man.
Yeah.
I
That's when, like, after we gave it to her, I was like, you know, it got me high. And at the time, I had been smoking just about every single day for like 3 years. So I was like, that got me high. So this woman who was in the military and worked for the government after that probably should know that she's getting drugs.
I don't think I'd ever smoke with my mom, but my stepmom, I already told her because she has never touched anything in her life other than like the occasional glass of wine. So I had a conversation with her. This was probably only like 4 or 5 months ago. Like I've been trying to get her to come and visit out here since I moved away. And I was like, oh, by the way, like when you come visit, I don't care what you say, like you're getting high with me. And she's like, I could never. I was like, oh no, it's gonna happen. Like whether I give you an edible or you smoke with me, like you're gonna get high. You're gonna try it at least once. And she was like, okay, fine, but are we gonna be safe? I was like, you're gonna be fucking fine. Like, chill out.
Yeah, that's like one thing that especially kind of made her come around to the idea was like when I was, of course, when I was younger, she was like, you're gonna overdose and you're gonna fucking die and it's your fault. And I was like, you know, my fault. Like and a couple of times, like I said, I had written scriptures about getting intoxicated and things like that. A couple of times we like sat down and had like a Bible session together. And so like it was like a very big deal. But like of course once I like got like turned 18 and my mom loves me very much, so she's not gonna cut the relationship off because I smoke weed. But she finally came around to the idea, and she mentioned one time she was like, you know, like that stuff like you're gonna find the overdose limit one day. And I was like, Mom, I promise you, and I swear this on everything that I love, and I will find scientific representation for it. That's one thing. She's very scientifically ground. So if you can find like good proof for it, you know, she's like, okay, my bad. And so I was like, I will find scientific proof for it, but there is no overdose limit when it comes to marijuana. I was like, the overdose limit is suffocation.
From the smoke.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's actual, and it's been tested, tried and true that the overdose limit is like a couple of kilos per hour, which for, you know, complete transparency, you smoke by the gram. So you would have to smoke hundreds of grams per second in order to kill yourself because you breathed nothing but marijuana, 100% marijuana air, no oxygen.
So, are we trying to start a world record or what?
That's what like I battled with some like, you know, some mental health struggles in my youth, and I can tell you like if there's an overdose limit, I would have found it 100%. Like those bad nights I came home and I was like, man, I got nothing except weed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's if there's an overdose limit, I would have found it for sure. But
I mean, I found the underdose limit.
oh man, I mean that's one thing too that I definitely want to get across is like I'm one big proponent for recreational use, for medicinal use, for legalization to the fullest. I don't think that it's harmful. It's not bad for people, and people shouldn't go to jail for it. But on the same token, like absolutely nothing wrong with not partaking in it because for the exact same reasons, like I don't drink, and a lot of people were like, "You don't drink, but you smoke." And it's like, there's some people who are quite the opposite,
So
and
you
quite a
can
few people.
you can have one without the other. You don't need to do them
Yeah.
both. And honestly,
It's
I'm
just
pretty sure, based off like research, smoking weed is a lot less harmful on your body than drinking alcohol.
very, because it doesn't immediately damage your liver. Oh man.
Would you ever want to quit? One
Yeah,
day?
I've definitely kind of thought about it and floated the idea. Just because, like, in the modern day, especially in Texas, there's jobs that are just entirely closed off to you if you use
I see.
marijuana, because a lot of places have a drug-free workplace.
That's true.
I mean, perfect example. A couple of months ago, I lost a pretty great job opportunity at a research institute because I'm really interested in IT. But because they have government contracts as a research institute, they have to be a drug-free workplace, and they made sure to indicate within their job application process that cannabis use, whether legal or not, is not tolerated. So it was like, okay, I had to call a recruiter and then be like, unfortunately, like for these reasons, I need to withdraw my application. And they were like, all right, well, we do apologize and thank you for your application, but have a wonderful day.
Yeah.
And so that one kind of sucked because it would have been a good little bump in pay too and responsibility. So, but I piss hot no matter what. I can't pass the drug test right now.
I surprisingly could pass one right now.
Hey, if it's 4 panel and it's excluding weed, a-okay, baby. I am Cali sober.
Well, back when I was like major job searching a while back, I stopped smoking. And like I haven't picked it back up because I haven't quite got a job that I want to stay at yet. So like, I'm sitting here like, I mean, I haven't smoked in 4 months.
Yeah, I mean, even another example is like the job before the current one, the one that we all worked together at, had a basic drug test. I prepared like hell to make sure that I passed the drug test, and luckily it would used one of the like really bad, like it's like styrofoam like mouth ones. So luckily, because I used mouthwash beforehand, I think it kind of cleared me. But the entire time that they had the box sitting on there and going through my hiring process, I was just
Intently watching it.
yeah. Because I was like, if that thing goes red at all, and she says you need to go home, I'm cooked. I'm cooked.
Dude. What would it take for you to quit? What do you need to stop? $1 million?
I mean, if there ever came a reason, I guess. I mean, just because, like, for example, I kind of like betting a lot, gambling.
Okay.
I'm definitely not addicted to any means. I'm not of that tax bracket enough to be addicted. But I like betting. I like sports betting. I like gambling. But also for the same reason, like I had to completely cease gambling because, like, kind of shit's expensive right now. So it's one of those things where it's like you give it up because it's like, okay, I need to.
I mean, couldn't you argue you're poor because you gamble and smoke?
Fair, but to be honest, I stopped gambling and I'm still poor. So it's hard to say that knocking them all off. I think milk is like $6.
No, it's not. Like 2 or 3. At HEB and Walmart.
Yeah, I go to Whole Foods and buy the super duper green grass fed organic A+ milk.
Bougie.
Well, that's why it's $6.
Yeah. So that's your
I'm
fault.
just kidding.
Yeah.
I just grab what's at HEB, man. Especially when they got those like mile-long tickets. That's like, hey, if you buy one toothbrush, we will give you the entire grocery store. I love those.
Those always good.
I'm gonna need one of those coupons. We're gonna find one of those.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You walk through, and I'm like, man, all I need right now is just a 2 liter of soda, a little pizza to eat for dinner, and I'll probably grab like something for dessert. And I walk out the bit spending like $100.
Yeah.
Finally, what advice would you give to people struggling with smoking addiction?
Take it a day at a time.
Yeah, take it a day at a time for sure. If you try and take the bigger picture and be like, I'm gonna kick this habit 100% by the end of the month, and I'm gonna go 2 years free. I hate to be that guy. That is too wide a goal, and you are definitely gonna fail that.
Yeah.
So it's so much easier just to every day like wake up and be like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. Definitely takes a conscious decision, and especially like we mentioned, that first couple of weeks is the hardest. Just got to get over that slump. But I hate to be that guy, but the easiest way to quit is to just not start at all.
Yeah.
Avoid it. Don't start smoking if you don't already, because it's just, not only is it a waste of money, but you also just kind of I don't want to say sacrifice your health, but you do kind of add some detriment to your health just by,
Starting
putting
in first
something
place.
in your body that's not there.
Right. Damn. All right. That's all the questions I got. So, and go to the testimonies part. How each of us deal with the smoking, how it's affected them. I'll start since I'm the most clean. The only influence of smoking I got was pretty much my dad. He's a heavy smoker. He's smoked every day, and I think to this day. Why would he quit? It's hard for him to quit any addiction, really. So, and I just remember it smelling so bad. Yeah, I just never felt the need to smoke it. And then I have a bunch of friends that smoke weed and get high all the time. And we work with a lot of people that get high and stuff. So it's pretty. It feels pretty commonplace. So I guess. Yeah, I don't know, but I just never felt the need to get high either. I got high one time. My brother-in-law gave me a gummy, but he got the measurements wrong. So you're supposed to take half the gummy, is that half a gram or something? And I took the full thing, and I passed out. Like I was dying. Like I felt dead on the couch, and I had to take a nap for the next 2-3 hours, and finally sorted up. So it was not a good high, and I was like, I'm good. Like the only interaction I had was a bad high. I did not enjoy it at all. So,
Man.
yeah, that's me. Yeah.
I probably should have never started. I lost my grandfather to lung cancer when I was like 8.
Yeah.
But kind of like Nathan over here, saw the popular kids in school smoking, and I started smoking weed when I was 14, and then picked up cigarettes when I was 16. But the driving factor to quit, I quit weed for the most part because of the Army. I had to. But then I picked up cigarettes more when I was in the military. Once I got out of the Army, though, I did try to go back to smoking weed. And it took me a while because for the first year, it just kept making me nauseous. I wasn't even getting high. I was just getting sick. And I essentially was like, all right, I got to do smaller doses so I can work back into it. And then I started job search and was like, well, I got to fucking quit again. So there we go. And then cigarettes, she didn't like the smell, and she's allergic to tobacco. So I was like, I kind of have to quit these. So I slowly weaned myself off, and then, oddly enough, the night that I quit Walmart, I smoked my last cigarette and never touched them again.
Yeah, then you weren't really addicted, right? Because if you were addicted, you would have had a harder time. Even if Cass wanted you to stop, you would have had it.
I didn't, cold turkey quit nicotine. I just quit the cigarettes.
Gotcha.
I moved over to like vaping and nicotine pouches.
Got it. Okay.
And now I don't really vape anymore, but I haven't quite kicked the nicotine pouches.
Sure. But yeah, you're doing something. So that's cool.
Slowly. I've been reducing the milligram usage of the pouches. I started with the 8s. Now I'm on 6s. Eventually I'll go down to 3s.
Nice.
And then once I get to the 3s, then I will start using them less and less. Because I don't think they make a 0 for the pouches.
That's just
So.
is that just nothing? I mean, that's like
Yeah, that's a Jolly Rancher.
It'd be like flavor and then like the feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Better. I mean, better than my dad. You know. Yeah, I don't really know anybody around me that tried to quit. I remember like working with some people and they had to like eat gum, chew gum to get
Because they
away
need
from-
that oral fixation. I mean,
yeah.
it's been... It'll be 4 years in December for me since I've had a cigarette, and I still crave them to this day. Like, if she got over the allergy, like if her body was no longer allergic to tobacco, and she's like, I don't care if you smoke, I'd probably go right back to it.
Damn.
Well, yeah. And then as for me, you know, it's really just been a kind of a constant thing in my life since I've been like from like high school on. Yeah, from
Wee
from the
boy.
boy. But now it's just complete habit. But you know, as a conscious American adult, I completely know what I'm getting myself into, and it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, it might not be the greatest for me, but you know, life is what it is.
Be what it do.
Yeah, question for y'all. If y'all have kids or had, yeah, if y'all have kids, how would y'all have handled them smoking?
Not to call, be the pot call the kettle black, but I would encourage them not to start smoking cigarettes.
Okay.
If they wanted to try weed, I wouldn't encourage it, but I also wouldn't be that parent that's like, no, you can't do that, because then they're going to go try and hide and do it. If, they were confident enough to talk to me and be like, Dad, I want to try weed, I'd be like, all right, here. Depending on their age, like, obviously I'm not going to let, like, a fucking 8-year-old smoke, but if they're, like, 16, 15, 16, 17, they're like, I want to try weed, I'd be like, all right, you're going to do it here so I can watch you.
Right.
I'm a big proponent of giving drugs to kids, actually, so I think we need to start handing it out at elementary schools.
What?
Yeah.
Straight to jail.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, we need to get them hooked sooner. Just get the quitting habit started in high school.
Shut up,
So-
you idiot.
They start smoking early, but they also quit way earlier.
I'm
So
leaving
it'd be a
this in.
30-year-old that's like, man, I haven't had a cigarette since like 4th grade. Oh man.
For
No,
legal
I,
reasons, this is a joke.
No, I think my mom kind of handled it pretty well. Where, like, especially with like kind of in the later years of high school, we kind of started to understand each other a little bit more, and it kind of got to a point where like, she let it be known multiple times, like, I don't want you doing this. This is bad for you, and you're throwing your life down the drain. But at the same time, like, like I said, it's one of those things where it's just you're gonna do it no matter what. So
Yes, sir.
might as well just get it over with.
Okay. Well, I got nothing else, so end it here. So this week was smoking. Next week will be food, gluttony, one of the 7 deadly sins. Fun stuff. Jeff with the motto.
Don't forget, we do have our Discord server. It is the Brothers Bonfire. If you are wanting a community and a band of brothers that are going through similar things such as yourself, then come join us in our journey and take a seat at the bonfire. All are welcome.
Along with uploading every Wednesdays, we're also streaming the podcast if we're recording on Sundays. So come hang with us after the podcast. The stream is a safe space for anyone to just chill, hang, and chat about anything. Take care, guys, and thank you, Nathan.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys.
Nathan.
Love you guys.
Love you too.